Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! During the pandemic, I was a struggling computer science student who had lost my part-time job. A foreign student acquaintance reached out, desperate for help to pass a coding exam or face deportation. Despite my initial hesitation, I agreed to take the exam for him in exchange for $500. Using remote access, I successfully completed the exam while he pretended to take it over Zoom. He passed, securing his future in the country. We met to celebrate and he promised to pay me the full amount soon. However, weeks turned into months, and he continually made excuses for not paying. After 6 months of being strung along, I sent him a final warning, threatening to report him for cheating. He responded dismissively and then blocked me. Furious at being taken advantage of, I decided to take action. I anonymously reported him to his university, providing evidence of the cheating. The university investigated, made him take a surprise exam, which he failed, and retroactively failed him for the course. Not stopping there, I tipped off immigration authorities about an illegal immigrant in the area. Within a week, he was deported. When mutual friends found out what I'd done, they were outraged, accusing me of ruining his life over $400. I defended my actions, arguing that he deserved it for trying to scam me. However, their words made me question whether I had gone too far. I couldn't bring myself to feel bad though. If he had been honest about not being able to pay and apologized, I would have let it go. Instead, he chose to take advantage of me, and I made sure he faced some backlash. I grew up in a small farming town and I always dreamed of having my own piece of land to cultivate. My parents were hard-working folks who instilled in me the value of honest labor and respect for the earth. They didn't have much, but they made sure I had everything I needed. After years of saving and working odd jobs, I finally managed to buy a modest farm on the outskirts of town. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I poured my heart and soul into that land, determined to make it thrive. I grew a variety of crops and even raised a few animals. It was hard work, but I loved every minute of it. Things were going well until the day I got a knock on my door. I opened it to find a woman standing there, all dolled up like she was going to a fancy dinner party instead of visiting a farm. She had that look about her, you know the type, the kind who thinks the world revolves around them. "Hello there, I am from the Homeowners Association, and we haven't met yet, but I live in a new development just down the road." "Oh, hi, what can I do for you?" "Well, I noticed your lovely farm. It's quite rustic." I didn't like the way she said rustic, like it was a dirty word. "Thanks, I guess. Is there something you needed?" "Actually, yes. I have a little proposition for you. You see, I have a bit of a green thumb myself, and I was wondering if you'd be interested in a little partnership." "Partnership? What kind of partnership?" "Oh, nothing too complicated. I just thought maybe you could set aside a small part of your farm for me to use. You know, for my own little gardening project." Something about the way she said it made me uneasy. I'd heard rumors about people in the area growing illegal plants, but I never thought I'd be approached about it. I tell her, "I'm not sure I follow. What exactly do you want to grow?" Karen, lowering her voice, "Let's just say it's a very lucrative crop. Something that's in high demand but not exactly, legal. We could split the profits, of course. You barely have to do anything." This woman had the audacity to come to my home and ask me to break the law. "I'm sorry, but I am not interested in anything illegal. I work hard to keep my farm running honestly." Karen, her face hardening, "Oh, don't be so naive. Everyone's doing it these days. It's practically harmless." "The answer is no. I'd appreciate it if you left now." Karen, her voice rising now, "You're making a big mistake. Do you have any idea who I am in this community? I don't care who you are. I'm not going to risk my farm or my freedom for your gardening project." "Fine. Have it your way. But don't think this is over." With that, she stormed off. Over the next few weeks, strange things started happening. My mailbox was vandalized and I'd find trash dumped near my property line. Then came the complaints. Suddenly, the homeowners association was sending me notices about everything from the height of my grass to the color of my barn. I tried to reason with them, but it was clear that Karen had turned everyone against me. She'd spread rumors that I was running some kind of illegal operation on my farm, which was rich considering what she'd asked me to do. One day, I was at the local diner when I overheard Karen talking to some of her friends. Can you believe that farmer? He thinks he can just ignore our community standards. I bet he's hiding all sorts of illegal activities out there. Friend 1. That's terrible. What are you going to do about it? Oh, don't worry. I have my ways. By the time I'm done, he'll be begging to sell that eyesore of a farm. I'd had enough. It was time to fight back, but I knew I had to be smart about it. And that's when I got an idea. The next day I called Karen. Hey, it's me, the farmer. I've been thinking about your offer. Karen, sounding surprised. Oh, have you come to your senses? Yeah, you could say that. Times are tough, you know? Maybe we could talk about that partnership after all. I knew you'd see it my way eventually. Why don't you come over to my place this evening and we'll discuss the details? Sure thing. As soon as I hung up, I called the local police station and asked to speak to Detective Johnson, an old friend of my family. Hey, detective. I've got a situation I could use your help with. What's going on? I explained everything to him, from Karen's initial visit to the harassment I've been facing. That's serious stuff. What do you need from us? I've agreed to meet with her tonight. I was thinking maybe we could set up a sting operation, get her to incriminate herself. Well, that's risky, but it could work. We'll need to wire you up and have backup nearby. Are you sure you want to do this? Absolutely. I am tired of being pushed around. That evening, I went to Karen's house wearing a hidden microphone. My palms were sweaty as I rang the doorbell. Karen, opening the door. Well, look who decided to join the winning team. Come in. Thanks. So, how exactly would this work? It's simple, really. You give me access to about an acre of your land, somewhere out of sight, of course, and I'll handle the planting and harvesting. All you have to do is look the other way and collect your share of the profits. But what exactly are we growing? Karen, laughing. Oh, honey, let's just say it's a certain herb that's very popular, but not quite legal yet. Trust me, the money will be rolling in. How much money are we talking about? Easily 6 figures a year, maybe more. And that's just a start. Once we get established, sky's the limit. Wow, that's a lot. And you're sure we won't get caught? Please. I've got half the homeowners association in my pocket. No one's gonna look too closely at what we're doing. And if anyone does start snooping around, well, I have my ways of dealing with that. What do you mean by that? Karen, leaning in close. Let's just say I know how to make problems disappear, whether it's nosy neighbors or uncooperative farmers. My heart was pounding. I couldn't believe she was actually threatening me. Okay, I get it. So, when do we start? How about this weekend? I'll come with some associates to survey the land and get things set up. Sounds good. I'll see you then. As soon as I left Karen's house, I met up with Detective Johnson and his team. They had heard everything. Detective says, you did great in there. We've got more than enough to arrest her, but I think we can do even better. Are you willing to go through with a meetup this weekend? Absolutely. I want to make sure she goes down for this. That Saturday, Karen showed up at my farm with 2 tough-looking guys. Little did they know the place was crawling with undercover cops. Alright, boys, let's get to work. We'll start over there by that old shed. As they started unloading their equipment, I gave the signal. Suddenly, police cars came screaming up the driveway, lights flashing. Detective threw a megaphone. This is the police. You're all under arrest. Her jaw dropped as she realized she'd been set up. Karen screaming, you set me up. You'll pay for this. No, Karen, you brought this on yourself. As the police led them away in handcuffs, I felt the nightmare was finally over. In the following weeks, the truth came out. Karen had been running a huge illegal operation, using her position in the homeowners association to intimidate people and cover her tracks. Many of her so-called friends turned on her, eager to make deals with the prosecutor. I got my quiet life back, the harassment stopped, and I was able to focus on my farm again. I may not be rich, but I can sleep easy at night, knowing I did the right thing. I've always been passionate about sustainable living and reducing my carbon footprint. That's why 2 years ago I decided to take the plunge and install solar panels on my home. It wasn't just about saving money on electricity bills, it was about doing my part for the environment. I spent months researching, planning, and saving up for this investment. When the day finally came to install the panels, I was ecstatic. I watched with pride as the installers carefully placed each panel on the street-facing side of my gable roof. For 2 years, everything was perfect. My energy bills plummeted, and I even started generating excess power that I could sell back to the grid. I felt good, knowing I was making a positive impact. But then, out of the blue, I received a notice from my homeowners association that would turn my world upside down. The letter stated that I needed to remove my solar panels from the street side of my house. Apparently, they had suddenly decided that the panels were an eyesore and didn't fit with the neighborhood's aesthetic. I was stunned. How could they do this after 2 years? I immediately called the HOA office to speak with someone about this ridiculous demand. Hello, I'm calling about the notice I received regarding my solar panels. There must be some mistake. HOA representative, I assure you there is no mistake. The board has decided that all solar panels must be removed to the side of the roof, out of view from the street. But my panels have been here for 2 years without any issues. Why is this suddenly a problem? We're implementing new guidelines to maintain the appearance of the neighborhood. Other homeowners have their panels on the side of their roof, and we expect you to do the same. That's because they have hip roofs. I have a gable roof. There is no side to put them on. I'm sure you can figure something out. The panels simply can be visible from the street or side street. But the panels on hip roofs are just as visible as mine. This doesn't make any sense. Those are the rules. You'll need to comply or face fines. I hung up the phone, fuming. How could they be so unreasonable? I decided to do some research and discovered that there were actually laws protecting homeowners' rights to install solar panels. Armed with this information, I requested a meeting with the HOA board. At the meeting, I presented my case. I've looked into the laws regarding solar panels installations, and I've found that homeowners associations can prohibit the installation of solar energy systems. We're not prohibiting them, we're just asking you to move them. But by forcing me to move them to a non-existent side roof, you are effectively prohibiting them. My gable roof doesn't have a suitable alternative location. Can't you just put them on the back of the house? The back of my house is north-facing. The panels wouldn't be effective there. The law states that while you can decide where the panels go, it can't impair their effectiveness. Karen, another board member, well, I don't care about the law. They are ugly, and I don't want to see them when I drive down the street. With all due respect, your personal preferences don't override state law. And if we're talking about atheistics, the panels on the hip roofs are just as visible. Those are different. They are on a side. They are still visible from the street. You can't apply rules inconsistently like this. The meeting went on for hours, with the board stubbornly clinging to their position. But I refused to back down. I knew I was in the right, and I was prepared to fight for my solar panels. In the end, I had to take legal action. I hired a lawyer who specialized in HOA disputes and property rights. We filed a lawsuit against the HOA citing the state laws that protected homeowners' rights to install solar panels. The case dragged on for months, but finally we had our day in court. My lawyer presented our case citing the specific clause that the HOA was violating. She also brought in an expert witness who testified about the ineffectiveness of placing solar panels on a north-facing roof. To my surprise and delight, the judge ruled in our favor. Not only did I get to keep my solar panels where they were, but the HOA was also ordered to create a clear, lawful policy regarding solar panel installations within 120 days, as required by state law. Karen, who had been so adamant about removing my panels, approached me outside. This isn't over. We'll appeal the decision. Karen, it's over. The law is clear. Instead of wasting more of the HOA's money on legal fees, why don't we work together to create a fair policy that follows the law and encourages sustainable living in our community? She stormed off without a word, but I noticed a few other board members nodding in agreement with what I'd said. In the weeks that followed, I was invited to join a committee to draft a new solar panel policy. It wasn't easy, but we eventually came up with guidelines that respected both the law and the community concerns. Today, my solar panels still proudly sit on the street facing side of my gable roof. And you know what? They've inspired several of my neighbors to install their own systems. I've been living in this quiet cul-de-sac for about 5 years now. It's a nice little neighborhood tucked away from the hustle and bustle of the main road. When I first moved in, everything was perfect. I had friendly neighbors, a tiny lawn, and my dog, Max, who I adopted from the local shelter. Life was good until about a year ago when the family next door decided to adopt two big dogs. At first, I was excited. I love dogs, and I thought Max might get some new playmates. These new neighbors, let's just call them the couple next door, seemed to have no idea how to be responsible pet owners. From day one, they let their dogs roam free all over the cul-de-sac. Now, I am all for dogs having space to run and play, but these two were constantly leaving presents on everyone's lawns. At first, I tried to be understanding. Maybe they were new to dog ownership and didn't realize the etiquette. So I casually mentioned it to them one day. Hey there, I noticed your dogs have been spending a lot of time in the front yards. You might want to keep an eye on them and clean up after them. The husband? Oh yeah, we'll get to it eventually. But they never did. Weeks went by and the problem only got worse. I started finding piles all over my front lawn. It got to the point where I couldn't even enjoy my own yard anymore. I had to watch every step and the smell was unbearable on hot days. I tried talking to them again, this time more directly. Look, I am really having a problem with your dogs using my lawn as their personal bathroom. Could you please clean up after them? The wife? Oh, come on, it's just a little dog poop. It'll decompose eventually. I was floored by their attitude. It wasn't just a little dog poop, it was piles and piles, day after day. I even started taking pictures as evidence, hoping I could use it if I needed to complain to the homeowners association. The final straw came when I was doing some gardening in my front yard. I was pruning my rose bushes when I stepped in a fresh pile. That was it. I'd had enough. At night, as I lay in bed unable to sleep thanks to the stress of this whole situation, I hatched a plan. It wasn't the most mature thing I ever done, but I was at my wit's end. Around 1 a.m. I snuck out of my house with a baggie. I scooped up two of my biggest piles I could find on my lawn and made my way over to their driveway. Instead of putting it in their trash can like I had done once before, which they completely ignored, I decided to leave them a more direct message. I tossed the first pile right in the middle of their driveway. It made a satisfying splat sound as it hit the pavement. The second one I aimed for the same spot, but it had a mind of its own and rolled under one of their cars. Part of me wanted to retrieve it, but I figured that would just add to the surprise. The next morning, I was up early sipping my coffee on a porch when I heard it. What the F? I heard water splashing and looked over to see him hosing down his driveway, a look of disgust on his face. His wife came out to see what was going on. What's wrong? Someone threw dog crap all over our driveway. That's disgusting. Who would do such a thing? They had no idea who would do such a thing. Really. Over the next few days, I noticed they started actually watching their dogs when they were outside. They even carried poop bags with them. It seemed like my message had finally gotten through. But old habits die hard, I guess. About a week later, I found another pile on my lawn. So that night, I made another special delivery to their driveway. This has become my new routine. Every time I find their dog's poop on my lawn, I return it to them in the middle of the night. I am not proud of it, but it's the only thing that seems to work. The other day I overheard them talking in their yard. I don't get it. Every time our dogs poop in the yard, it ends up in our driveway the next day. Maybe we should start cleaning up after them right away. Yeah, I guess you're right. This is getting ridiculous. Were they finally getting it? I watched over the next few days as they diligently followed their dogs around with poop bags. The lawns in the cul-de-sac started looking better, and the smell improved dramatically. I know my method wasn't the most mature way to handle things, but sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. I'm just glad I can finally enjoy my front yard again without having to watch every step. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.